Yeah.
Like I said, it happens, and hopefully some kids can learn from it, but just don't get caught.
I'm down to dunk.
And I'm down to dunk.
I'm down to dunk.
This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lindy Waters, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kenneth Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
Will you say this is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Cracklin Oat Bran?
Have you had Cracklin Oat Bran?
No,
No. Okay.
but it's healthy.
You're a big oat brand guy?
I'm a big Oat Bran guy.
Okay.
I think I would switch it with Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, eat faster. Don't put as much in the bowl.
You have a gallon of milk I can also take home. You don't have milk at home?
One cinnamon toast.
Okay.
Crunch.
Yeah. Cereal is great. Yeah. Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Mondays, my good friend Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
Well, this is a very weird timing for us. It's almost an hour before.
Yeah.
So extremely weird. I feel weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but it's good. You know what? I want to wish a little happy birthday to my guy, Jay. Jay, who's on the Fry Pod. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Jay.
Yay! It's J Day.
It's J Day. Hope you're having a great J Day. Also, before we get started, I wanted to just let you guys know. So if you don't know, if you're living in Oklahoma, you probably know about this, but there was on April 19th, there was a big tornado that hit Shawnee specifically, lots of other communities too. There were lots of communities affected by this, but wanted to just quickly address this. This is from a listener of ours, lives in Shawnee. He's actually pastor of a church out in Shawnee, and Michael Gilliam reached out and wanted to relay some of this. So if you haven't seen some of the damage, I mean, you can just Google Shawnee April 19th tornado, and you can see that like the high school was greatly affected. Lots and lots of buildings were greatly affected, and it's just in need of help. And so this church that Michael is affiliated with is partnering with this group called Samaritan's Purse to help kind of clean stuff up and restore the community. And so if you have any time or if you have the ability to help, they send out volunteers twice a day, every day. And so if you want to be a part of that, what you do first, you go to a training. They have two different trainings every day starting at 7:30. This is just like for safety, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty quick. 7:30 and 12:30 every day. You can meet at the church called Family of Faith, which is at 30 Kenville Road. It's in Shawnee, Oklahoma, 74804 at 7:30 or 12:30. You can also sign up online at spvolunteer.org. And then if you just want more information about it, you can reach out to Michael on Twitter at Michael C. Gilliam, Gilliam, or you can even call or text him 405-827-2548 just to get more information or just to help get signed up to help. So they need a lot of help. Michael is a longtime listener, somebody that I see at a lot of Thunder games too. So good guy and someone that's trying to kind of spearhead some help for the Shawnee community. And we, as a Down to Dunk community, want to help too. So if you can't volunteer, spread the word to maybe somebody that could. And we would love to be able to help out in any way possible. So prayers for the Shawnee community, and here's to hoping that this actually maybe reaches some people. So, all right, Michele, there's a lot of stuff going on playoffs. We had the Sam Presti press conference. I want to talk a little bit about that. But just watching games yesterday, and I asked this on Twitter, but I just was asking myself, okay, like both the Hawks and Timberwolves, while they're still alive today, they're going to go home soon. Like both those teams are going to lose in round one. And I just had this question rolling around in my brain, and I can't even answer it. I don't even know how to answer it myself. It's like, which team would you rather be, Hawks or Timberwolves? And I got such a mixture of responses to this from so many people. Some people are like, oh, it's definitely the Timberwolves. Some people are like, oh, it's definitely the Hawks. And like they gave their reasons. But it was,
Why do you want to get so miserable in trying to answer this question? That would be.
But like, who would you pick?
Oh, that's depressing.
That's a tough question.
For me, it's kind of not, because there is one player that I love a lot on one of the two franchise, and he's enough for me to say, okay, I would much rather have that, and he's Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. So several people answered that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I like him. I don't like the. I would say I don't like the team as constructed today. I think that trade was. I expected that to go better, like them being maybe a 48, 49 win team. I thought that Gobert would lift a lot defensively, and it didn't. I mean, they should be a top of the league in defense and good enough on offense, even without Cat. Like if you think about Edwards, Gobert, and you have Jaden McDaniels, this is a very good defense. So Conley is a good defender. Next year, I think that they would be better. But then you see what happens on the bench, what happens behind the scenes. We don't know, but something about that team feels wrong. And then you turn to the Hawks and say, "Oh, it's the above. Plus, I don't like anybody." So, I mean, it's two franchise that, as you mentioned multiple times, I mean, they pushed the button a little bit too early if you're the Timberwolves, and definitely too early if you're the Hawks.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important to be patient. Patient doesn't mean letting everything slip through your fingers. I mean, at some point you have to make a move. Patient means just making a move and say, "Oh, okay, this is exactly what I need."
Yeah.
And it's not easy. I mean, Boston did it with Hayward, and it amounted to nothing. And still, they were so good because they had those two guys. Nor the Timberwolves. I don't think the Timberwolves nor the Hawks have the same kind of core. And so if you push the button too early, then it's just amount to nothing.
Yeah, totally agree. This is why I brought this up, is that both franchises did that. They pressed the button too early because they didn't know how their teams would evolve. They didn't know what they would need. And James Anderson said they pushed the wrong buttons. I don't think it's about when, but it's about who. Disagree. I don't think
disagree. Me too. Take Butler with the T-Wolves. Butler is absolutely a must-have guy.
Yeah.
He's insanely good. He can turn a franchise on his own because he's that guy.
Yeah.
But you need to do it at the right time. You have Cat. I mean, if you think about, roster construction, you have a center that is not super duper good at defense, but he can space the floor. He can be an offensive machine. What is the best player to pair with him? A gritty guy who just barrels through the lane, and he's maybe not a great shooter, but it's an awesome defender. Well, hey, there's Butler. So, but Jimmy was not the right guy for that team in terms of, like, it was not the right timeline for Jimmy. And this is extremely important. The how, the when, and the who are all extremely important. You need to know what you have, using Sam Presti's word. You need to do it at the right time and I mean, I said it last Monday, we need to really listen carefully because everything will be well prepared and well said. And he used so many sentences that I would just requote because those are so important. I mean, you need to have a team that let this happen. I mean, Presti discussed the J-Dub growth and the fact that others on the team allow that to happen.
Yes.
So the when is extremely important because you need to have a team that allows that. And so I really think that it's a mixture of timing, selecting, and a bit of luck. Because with Award, I think that Award was perfect for that
Yeah.
team, but he didn't have luck. And by the way, James Anderson again in the chat, you disagree? Yes, Butler didn't work in Philly either. Well, let me disagree with that. They were a lucky Kawhi shot from beating the champions. So
Yeah.
I mean, he worked very well. But anyway,
Yeah, totally. I think they have to know what they need first. And that's how it's going to be. Sam basically, he said that in the presser that but you can't buy the paint before you buy the house.
yeah.
And what that means is you have to have the team first. You have to have the team that you are confident, like, hey, this is the team that we're going to compete with. And once you have it, then you can go get those other pieces to complement. Like, okay, maybe we are missing a big. Well, you can go get a big with the draft picks that they have. Totally, you could do that. If you need to get a wing, it's probably going to cost a little bit more, but you have the assets to go do that. You need to know what you have first before you can go fill in the spots. Because if they use their assets and their cap space this summer to go get somebody that's going to play a big role on the team, like we're talking like Gobert and the Jimmy Butler example, and you look at
Donovan Mitchell wanting out from a disappointing Cleveland team.
Yeah,
Speaking of another
Donovan,
trade.
Yeah, that's another one. And then you just watch, and Atlanta did it to like a lesser degree because they filled it out with like role players. But their team wasn't ready yet. They were propped up by those role players who were good for one season, and then when they were gone, the bottom dropped out. It's like, well, wait a minute. I thought that we were this team. Oh, wait, we're not that team. No, we were just being propped up by like guys in their early to mid 30s. And like that is not the way to do it.
Yeah, and going back to last season and to some degree to this season as well. I remember us discussing Kenrich and Mike being forces that allowed the team to be better than expected. I mean, these players can carry you to a certain place. And I think that Kenny is that good. It's not a coincidence that the best basketball that OKC played was with Kenrich and Mike playing huge minutes and very important roles. Because when you have role players that know how to play the game in a regular season and maybe in very specific circumstances in the playoffs, you can get away with a lot. You can mask. And your young players may have a good run. This is not sustained success. This is not, hey, we are good and we are good because. I mean, we have starting to see right now, we are good and we are good because of our young players. Because there was no Kenrich. There was no role player to, like, Isaiah Joe had a okay end of the season / bad end of the season. It's all about the young guys. There's nothing else. This is who they are now. They are a team that can get hot and that can go greedy and beat a very good team like the Pelicans, and just being dismantled the next day because they don't have enough. So This is what they are today with their young core, and this is the most important thing. Had they have Kenrich, maybe they are playoff worthy. I'm quite certain that if you keep Mike, you keep Kenny doesn't have the injury, they can go and win 43 games, 44 games. And in many of the listeners / observers / watchers' mind, you can say, okay, they are 44. So they are ready to make the jump. And I don't think so. Boston had a lot of insuccess playoff-wise before they made a move. Milwaukee had Giannis. being the best player in the league or close to that, and they had 2 years of bad postseasons. And then after a while, they went and get Drew Holiday and they won a title. That was a very good when and who. So I really think that, as you mentioned, I mean, role players can carry you way higher than what you expect, because if you get the right role player, everything can function. And if you function in the NBA for 3 months, you can get to the postseason. OKC functioned for 2 months and they got to the postseason.
Yeah. I think that's it. And I think also the point is the Thunder want this group to prove that they're ready for it before. And I think Sam Presti kind of mentioned that. It's part of like the house before the paint comment, is that they want them to earn it. And he spoke to that, like that first group too. Like once they got to 50 games and they proved it on their own that they were, ready, then it was like, okay, great. You guys are ready, but we have deficiencies and we need to go seek those out. Like, how do we help this team now? Which is why I just don't see a world where they're going to make any big move this summer. Also, the cap stuff is really important. If you want to keep your players, if you want to keep this team, if you like this team and you want to keep this team together, you can't go use that $30 million in cap space this summer to bring in somebody. He mentioned like Ben Gordon and David Lee as guys back in 2010, because the Thunder had a ton of cap space in 2010. And I, at the time, was one that was, talking to my friends about, hey, they should go we should try to get Chris Bosh, or we should try to get David Lee, or we should try to get Carlos Boozer, or we should try
to get Tyson Chandler. Oops.
Yeah, that one kills me still to this day. Like we should go get these guys because we got the cap space now. We got to go do it. And it turns out they didn't need those guys anyways. And it would have made the cap sheet so messy.
Yeah.
If you sign
so early
to like a long-term deal, and it's like, okay, well now what? Like, can we, like, how many of the guys, can we even keep Serge Ibaka now? So I think, well, and James, listen, the team had already had some success like when they made the Tyson Chandler deal initially.
Real success.
They had real success. The Thunder haven't had that yet. They were already taking off. This team hasn't taken off there. And Presti mentioned this, and this is like not even like our reading the tea leaves thing. This is just like fact. He kept stating for a reason, this is not a 500 team. Yeah. We're not a 500 team. He said it multiple times the other day for a specific reason. Because he's basically just telling everybody, hey, listen, I'm not doing anything until they show me that they are ready for this. And they're not a 500 team. The house isn't ready yet. We haven't even bought a house yet. So how are we supposed to know how to paint it?
Yeah.
Like the paint, if you want to do like an analogy, like Tyson Chandler and Kendrick Perkins were the paint on the first Thunder house. Yeah. And the house was Westbrook and Durant. Like that's how they built. That's how they built that team.
And Presti made also a very interesting comment about what was perceived as something that they really needed. And I think that he hinted the fact, hey, it's a fact that we should have thought different way. We already had what could be needed, and we just decided to take what was perceived as needed, what we perceived as needed. Now, I'm not sure that he was hinting to that, but he said something about Green that I read as, hey, we had a very modern team.
Yeah.
Like we could have just had Serge. And this is why I don't want to box the Thunder need right now. Do they need a center or a guy that is physical? Sure, they need a guy like that to a certain degree, but it's apparent that they had the best basketball of their lives playing small. They destroyed Philly with a small team, and like on Philly, I'm sure that everyone is aware there is the best center of the league, or one of the best centers of the league. It
Yeah.
probably like it's MVP. So what are we talking about? Like it's not even clear what version of OKC works better, and Chet didn't step on the court yet. So we really need to be patient and to let this team grow organically. I think that this is the part of the presser that I like the most. The fact someone has to sacrifice in order for someone else to shine. And I think that Lou was one that sacrificed quite a lot about his volume, about his usage. Giddy sacrificed quite a bit of his usage to allow J-Dub to be more effective. Trey Mann basically disappeared to allow J-Dub to take a lot in terms of ball handling. And nobody knows what happens when Chet plays. He can take 20 shots. And if he takes 20 shots, I mean, this team will change dramatically. I mean, if he's that good, I'm not saying that that Chet will take 20 shots just because he wants to take 20 shots. But what happens if he takes 20 shots and make 12 constantly? Like, this team changes completely. I mean, and this will be like a earthquake in the construction of the team. How can you just think about that and just saying, okay, well, maybe we need to draft Hendricks? Who cares? Like, really, just draft the best player you can, the player that gives you the most versatility, the most upside. And then if the team with Chet still really needs rebounds, physicality, and whatnot, then you may think about that. Maybe even at All-Star break next season. It can be as early as that. If the team is on pace to win 50, but every single night you have Chet beat down, you have all this stuff, then maybe you think about it.
Yeah. If they show that they are the team, if they're like 10 games above 500 at the trade deadline, and they are like the 4 seed or something, or the 2 seed in the West, and they're like, yeah, we've got to get somebody that has like some muscle down there to move these guys. They have the assets to do it. They've got the paint. They can go get the paint. That's no big deal to go get the paint. They just need to know that the house is ready for the paint.
Yeah.
That's all. And I do think it's just an important thing to note whenever you're trying to figure out what's the offseason plan, how are they going to do this, what's going to happen next. I think that, he said it all. He said, like, we're staring that sucker down. That's the second mountain. They're staring it down. They're not on it, but they're staring it down, and they're almost ready to go, but they need the team to be ready first. And they're not going to be beholden to any sort of anything at all. He calls it a clock. Like, they're not watching the clock. And I do believe that that's genuine. I don't think that they're saying, like, they're waiting for the team to declare themselves. And Presti obviously was not satisfied with what he saw this year to say that the team is ready yet, because he was like, yeah, we played good for 2 months. We were a good team for 2 months. We weren't a great team. We need some sustained success here, and we're not a 500 team. He didn't mention those by accident. He didn't just like come upon those when he's sitting there. He mentioned those very intentionally. He very intentionally said those things over and over again the other day to like illustrate that they're not ready yet. Like, he, in so many ways, he said they're not ready yet. They've got to be better in a lot of different ways, and they need to come back better. They're going to start from square one at the beginning of next year, and they need to come back and be ready. They need to be more physical. They need Josh to be more physical, not as a defender, but as an offensive player.
Oh, that is a part of the presser that I really loved as well.
Yeah.
Josh has made a transition from year 1 to year 2 where he's way more aggressive at the rim. And fruits of that, those are not there yet. Part because of him, part because of how he's being officiated right now, which is a common thing in the NBA. When you start driving at the rim, you're not getting all the calls right now. He's starting to get them And when he realizes that he doesn't need to shy away, he's much stronger than a lot of guys, and so he can get there and get fouled.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to change quite a lot in Josh's games. And I think that Presti was hinting to that. Like, Josh needs to play with physicality on offense. Defensively, he needs to be more consistent.
Yeah.
But there are signs of him being better. And again, I mean, Presti also discussed something that I mean, nobody really believes, but there is a chance that next year they win 38 games. I don't believe that. But success is not linear. What if J-Dub is not the same J-Dub of this year? It's unlikely, but it still can happen. What if Shea plays 40 games? What if Chad plays 20 games?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is why the timeline is so important, because you are not necessarily growing linearly. I hope they go exponentially, and it is certainly a possibility that, boom, next year they start and they are insanely fun with Chet, and Chet is a monster, and everyone improves even a tiny bit, and this team is a 50-55 win teams. This can happen, but there is also like Trey Mann looked amazing at the end of last season. I bet him being a 17 points per game bench scorer. He's very far from that.
Yeah.
With J-Dub, I'm a bit more certain because we saw that for 80 games.
And we saw it specifically, we saw it in games that mattered at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Those last 10 games, even though they were rocky, that was the most important stretch of the season for this team. Is to like figure out how to get their footing. And you saw in those last 10 games how they were not ready to be that team yet. The way that they struggled in Indy, the way that they and I know this is not Shea, but they still barely scrape by against the Pistons.
Yeah.
Let's say Josh misses that shot and it bounces just a little differently off the rim. They lose that game.
Yeah. They're not in the play-in.
Yeah. And they don't make
it's still a wildly successful season.
Yes. I think that we would still sit here and be saying the exact same things, and that Presti would have handled his presser the exact same way. I don't think that making the play-in or not changes the way that they're going to handle the team going forward, which is good, which is the way that you'd want it to be. It's because they look at this very holistically and they really step back, and so much of it is relational, which is really cool to see because I think it's the right way to handle it. And relational with their star players in particular, it's so important that they handle it the right way. And that Presti said it, we're not just here to appease Shea. We're not just here to appease J-Dub or Giddey or Chet. He's well aware that appeasement of these players is not going to lead to long-term relationship with them. And I think it's so cool, one, that he even mentioned that in the press conference. And when he mentioned pancakes and car washes, I was confused about that. I've since found out that is referencing, apparently the Thunder have the most amazing pancakes for their players and staff. And then also they wash the players' cars. I don't know if it's pregame or postgame or whenever it is. But the pancakes and car washes are things that they give these players that people talk about a lot. Oh, the car wash, it's so great to just pull into the game, have my car washed. And then the pancakes here at the arena are just
no cupcakes.
Unbelievable. No cupcakes. No cupcakes.
Okay.
But the pancakes, and basically he's talking about how here are ways that we kind of pamper the players a little bit. But he's but it's not about that. It's about how can we actually have a relationship and make each other better, kind of like the iron sharpens iron kind of thing, where our organization is very strong, and we want to have players that are equally as strong, that we can work together in tandem, and not just oh, Shea, how are we going to help you? What can we do? How are we going to get you to stay? And Shea, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll do whatever you have to, we'll do whatever we need to do. They want it to be where they can just sit across the table from one another and just how do we make this better for both of us? It's very much, I was telling this to somebody about this advice is like, this is not only like great advice for like teams and how they handle their stars. This is like great relationship advice. Like this is great like marital advice. Like you're not just there to just make somebody happy. Like you're there to like grow together. And I thought that part was really cool because it did humanize this process a little bit, because I think so much, and a lot of it is like 2K, and a lot of it is that all of this stuff lives on Twitter, and it all lives like in a world that like you can't quite reach for the most part, that you can't like tangibly be a part of quite as much, except for like just being a fan. But like still, I thought that stuff humanized this process very well. And I thought Sam did a really good job of trying to explain those things to us and then to the fan base itself, that like these are people that we are trying to partner with long term to build an awesome basketball team. But like, here are the ways we're going to do it, and here are the ways that we're not going to do it. And I just thought that it showed a lot of maturity within the organization to be able to say those things, because the players are listening to this stuff too.
Yeah. Definitely.
When
Yes.
asked about Shea, Presti was like, yeah, he's really good, and if he wants to be great, he has to be a two-way player. You best believe he was saying that directly to Shea, and I'm sure that he said it to his face anyways before this. Like he's saying,
I bet something different. I bet that Shea said that in that exit interview.
Yeah.
And I think that shows the alignment between, or the perceived alignment. I hope that is better perception than me being a Ludort hater, but still a perception of what is happening between Shea and the team. And I mean, we all have business relationship and like relationship in general, and appeasing is something that works. I mean, it works with humans. It works with animals. Like when you train a dog, you appease him with little treats, and that works. But he's at a human level. How long does it last? When does the appeasing starts to go in places that you don't necessarily like? How much control are you willing to surrender?
Yeah.
And so if you build a relationship based on different things, where you really confront each other and you build something together through, yes, of course, you need to make the other party happy. Otherwise, it's not a relationship, but it's the way in which you do it that changes the matter dramatically. And I think that he specifically mentioned that the league a lot of times is just appeasing star players. It's about that, which again, maybe allows a team to have certain star on the market. But how that lasts or how that is conducive to success, it's something that is a completely another story. And it ties back to what we discussed at the beginning, in which Presti, it was probably the favorite point for me about, again, allowing other teammates to have success. And you can do that only if you grow with the team, and you understand what the team is about, and you understand like how being great together is much, much better than being happy as a single player that is allowed to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. One thing that he also mentioned is that like they're welcoming resistance and friction, as a part of this, because, and this is also just showing like where the team is at. Like they're welcoming those things because this team is still so young and they have still so much to learn and so much to grow into, that the only way to grow a lot of times is with that resistance and with that friction in life. And like the Thunder know that, and they want that. And he talked about how they put them in uncomfortable situations. And I think they tried to do that with J-Dub so much this year. It's like, okay, great. Like you're comfortable in that position now. Great. We're going to throw you into another one, but we're going to make you the full-time 4 here at the end of the season and see how you handle that. We're going to make you the backup point guard. We're going to make you shooting guard. We're going to make you this. You're going to do all the things. and let's see how you handle it. Josh Giddey. Hey, Josh, we know that you are really a primary ball handler at heart. We're going to make you a secondary ball handler and see how you handle that.
Or we keep you to a standard that is so high for you and low for others. Like, no, you don't close games, but coach, no, the standard for you is different.
That's a very uncomfortable. He was put in so many uncomfortable situations to start the year.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of 19-year-olds would have folded and just, it would have been
you
like,
can fold.
What happened to Josh Giddey? Like, where did he go? Like, he was on pace to be probably second or third in rookie of the year voting last year. And like now, like where is he?
He's not closing games.
Yeah, he's not even closing games.
He's treading waters.
Yeah, he's treading water. Can he and Shea even coexist at all? And he answered the call though.
Yeah, that is a dangerous path though.
It is.
Like,
we're throwing these guys in there, and that's the thing, is like they're not afraid. They want these guys to be the guys that move the team forward. And the way to figure out if that's possible is just throw them right into the fire. Say, great, we're going to put you in uncomfortable situations, and we're going to see how you handle it. And they handle it. A lot of these guys have handled it. Shea, Giddey, J-Dub have handled it so well. Dort has handled it. I mean, Dort, the player that showed up the most there in the last 10 games outside of Shea, was probably Lou Dort. Like, the dude was ready.
Me.
The dude was ready to go. And I just love the way that they are handling this team, because you look in Houston, and all y'all know how much I love to pile on Houston, but they're not putting their players in difficult positions. They're just like, okay, go do your thing. Let's see what happens. Is largely the way that it was, and it created chaos. And that team is chaos from the top down, and that's how organizations are. That's how any organization is, whether you're a basketball team or you're selling water bottles. What you are stems from top down. Ownership first, management next, coaching next, players. And it all trickles down. And you can see in Houston that, one, there's chaos at the ownership level. That's not an owner that you would want. Management is
Can
not
I stop
great.
you for a second?
Coaching, not great. Yeah.
I just remember the most beautiful moment, probably one of the most beautiful moments in Down to Dunk history. The trivia, is it Fertitta or Frittata?
Yeah, Fertitta or Frittata. Yeah.
That
was an amazing moment.
That was the beginning of Alex, the trivia guy.
Yeah,
and it was amazing. I still think about that so many times. Like,
so good.
It was. I mean, we should put that in the, I don't know, Down to Dunk top 10 hit or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of putting guys into different situations, I remember how everyone laughed at the Thunder and at Sabonis for that rookie year. And I was watching the games. I mean, probably Sacramento against Golden State is the one that I watch every game because I think it's so funny. And I mean, last night Sabonis was just like left wide open, like he is, I don't know, Clint Capella. And I remember, all Domas would have jacked threes. I mean, he jacked 7 threes in the game again, or 5 threes in the game against Boston. I vividly remember that. And then, I mean, he probably didn't have to do that for years. And I mean, I question, was it the right path at the beginning to try to allow him to be a shooter, force him to be a shooter first, because they really know, hey, you are great at the basket, and you will be, always will be. You are going to be great at the HO guy. You know how to play, but you need to be a great shooter if you want to be an All-NBA kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And if you add shooting to Domas, you can question, like, is he that below the Embiid and Jokic if he's a 38% 3-point shooter on a decent volume? I don't know. So putting guys in uncomfortable roles. I don't think that J-Dub was really comfortable in taking as many threes as he did in the second part of the season, but this is a crucial development for him. He needs to do that way more than and so does Shea. I mean, I think that part of the development needs to come, and I'm sure that the coaching staff is vocal about that. So it's something that you need to welcome, putting guys in position where they need to react. They can't settle. This is a place where things either break or work. And for a team that has a gazillion first-round picks, it's mandatory to say, okay, with all the young players, we just force them to react. And if they don't, then we try again and again and again. At a certain point, we just fold for them. And because he said that, and I think that this year he didn't, but he did last year, a lot of guys will be left behind.
Mhm.
And it will happen for sure.
Yeah. There's so much truth in all of that. And yeah, guys that from this team that you really liked, some of those guys will be left behind too.
Mm-hmm.
That will happen. This team is still so young. We feel like we know a lot. And I think we felt like we knew a lot even the season before then. And there's still so much to learn. And he talked about how they're still in observation mode for this next year.
Yeah.
Like that's where they're going to be. They're going to put all these guys in positions where they might feel a little uncomfortable. Also, there's also the fact too that Mark Daigneault is really good at putting these guys in position where they don't struggle, where they will like thrive and flourish. And like you see that with Isaiah Joe, and you see that with Aaron Wiggins, where it's like, oh my gosh, like where did these guys come from?
Yeah.
And some of it is certainly their skill and certainly their dedication to like being great. But some of it also is just like the Thunder offense is going to make guys look really good. It's going to make guys look better than they are probably. And like, that's a really good thing because the Thunder, that's not been a mark of the Thunder in the past. It's, you bring in guys like Patrick Patterson and Alex Abrinas and guys like that, and it actually, the Thunder offense made them look a lot worse than they are, just by nature of the way that they play. Because if you're you couldn't have changed it. I'm not saying that things should have been different then, but when you play with such a dominant force, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time, probably the greatest Thunder player of all time, Russell Westbrook, things have to be a certain way for him to thrive. He has to play with a certain kind of player. And you're seeing actually with the Clippers that there are a lot of guys like Zubats is like a great player for Russ to play with. And the wings that they have are great players for Russ to play with. But I can't help but like think, man, I wish that Alex Abrinas would have hung on a little longer. Because if Abrinas was on this team, he'd be amazing. He'd be
he'd be
good on
great.
this team. Oh my gosh, because he can handle and he can shoot, he can pass, he can kind of do a little bit of everything. I think he would
have been too old though.
He would have thrived on this team.
But he's 30. Like, come on, it's too old.
Is he really 30?
1993, yes.
Oh my gosh, that makes me feel old. That he's 30.
Yeah,
man,
I'm quite sure.
I
Is
believe.
he 1993?
Yeah,
I don't know.
93. Yeah, August 1st, 93.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd still welcome him. That's a button that I'd be willing to push. Is let's just get Alex Abrinas back here in the NBA. Let's see what he can do with Mark Daigneault. I think he'd be awesome. I think he'd be amazing. I think he's done with the NBA. But
yeah,
all that to say, I also think that this Thunder offense puts guys in great positions to be successful. And so while they do put them in uncomfortable situations that they can grow from, this offense is actually starting to function quite well. And just think like when these guys are actually like 24 years old, average age, 25 average age, and you have other pieces that fit a little bit better what it can be, because they were an average offense this past year and they were an average shooting team this past year with a lot of guys that you're just like, yeah, they're not really shooters. They're not really that, you had some like really good shooters, but a lot of it really functioned because of the type of offense that they run.
in June 2022, we had the feeling that OKC needed the second pick because they needed their best player.
Yeah.
That was June 2022, not even a year ago. And right now, there is this super duper star, All NBA, maybe first team All NBA kind of guy. And plus, you need to add that player, the player that we were waiting for. Chet can change things dramatically, or he can be just normal player. We don't know. If he's nowhere near what we saw in Summer League, he is going to be insane. He was the best rookie by far in Summer League. So who knows? Again, that player can change a franchise for good. I mean, if he's that good. If he's not, then this team is still extremely good because they found Shea. Giddy is awesome, and J-Dub is awesome. So, I mean, it's so insane how much there is to discover next year, and this is why you don't want to do anything because I mean, let's just see. Let's just see what happens with Chet. Let's just see how they react together. And again, we are not talking about the another player that they will add next season that can change a lot because if they draft another player that is as good as J-Dub, I mean, boy, oh boy, you will need to make a choice between these 5 players. You can't, you can't just have them all. So it's going to be a fantastic story, and this is why I mean, Presti is right to say, okay, let's wait. We don't have to rush it. What's the point in trying to speed up a process that might need no speed up? They can be a 55-win team next season. Like, it can happen. I mean, if Chet is awesome and the 12th pick is insanely fun and good, I mean, they can win 50 next year, and they can be in the higher up half of the playoff hierarchy for what we know. So it's again, it's insane that we had this season without 2 main pieces of the team next year, without the veteran that was the heart of the best moment in Thunder season, being Kenrich Williams. And next year we will probably have those 3 things, plus everyone with a NBA summer on their shoulders where they can improve, work, and stuff like that. So it's absolutely crazy. And again, I think that part of Presti conference was really telling. The fact that going small, I mean, it's probably one of the first time that he specifically addressed a certain style of basketball. He addressed physicality last year, but saying, "Hey, going small allowed us to be the best version of ourselves," or something like that.
Yeah,
it's really
also
telling.
very telling. It's extremely telling on like where are we headed with this? Well, one, I just think that they want to be unconventional. I think like there's a deep, just like yearning from the franchise to be unconventional. One, because I think they know they have to be unconventional.
Mm-hmm.
And also like the teams that are unconventional are like on the cutting edge. You know, the Warriors were very unconventional with how they handled things.
Yeah.
And it ended up like changing the game. I think the Thunder would like to do that this time around. Whether they can do that or not is going to be dependent on like how high the talent goes, because that's the Warriors could be unconventional because they had Steph Curry
And
Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Like that's how they became unconventional, is that they had all those players. And the Thunder are going to have a chance to be pretty special moving forward. And a lot of that is like they're probably going to be very unconventional. Like whenever people think like, oh, Chet's too skinny, you have to play somebody big next to him. I don't necessarily think that there's that same desire happening behind the scenes with the Thunder. You know, he was specifically asked, when you talk about like this nastiness that you want from the team, with this physicality that you want from the team, is that going to be handled in the draft or free agency? And he just said no. And he pointed back to the team. He said, no, it's got to come from them. We want it to come from them. So, yeah, I think that was really interesting to see. I think that he thinks that he said as much, that the style of play they want to foster is going to better develop with playing small. And then I think, and also you have to also acknowledge that when it's time to win playoff games, you have to win by playing in lots of different ways. And that's like exemplified by the way that Boston has built their team is that they have lots of different kinds of bigs that can play lots of different kinds of ways. And I think eventually you're going to have to go get like a bigger guy to come and play with this team, like off the bench. You have to get somebody off the bench that can come in and like change things and be a big
largely depend on how Chet is going to impact physically the game. Because if Chet is the guy who can impact both physically, blocking shots.
I also just think you need a backup big that can affect the game.
You don't trust Jay Will?
I don't know
Not
yet.
today.
I don't know yet.
Not today, yes. And that is probably what Presti was addressing with speaking about multiple bigs. I mean, Jang is 7 feet tall. Pokuševski is 7 feet tall. And then you have Jay Will. So all these guys may be big men going forward, depending on how they physically develop. I mean, if Jang grows in and it actually puts mass, grows in terms of body mass and stuff like that, is he a forward or a big man? I mean,
I don't know what he's going to be. Hopefully,
he's going to be a player. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? You want to do a tankathon spin before we go?
For sure. Should I predict something?
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't you go ahead and predict something and make me feel all weirded out when it happens?
This time, Portland jumps into the top 2.
Okay, here we go. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should watch on YouTube because you get to see this spin live. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel too while you're at it. And also hit the like button down here right now. Hit it right now if you're watching. Here we go. Oh my God. Well, they almost did. They jumped into the top 3.
That was close.
So Spurs number 1, Pistons number 2, Portland number 3. So it went Victor. Brandon Miller went number 2 to the Pistons, and then Scoot number 3.
That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen.
Thunder stay at 12. They have Cason Wallace like cemented as their 12th best player here. I don't necessarily see that for the Thunder. I think that if they're looking to replace Dort someday, he would be a really great candidate for that, but I'm not necessarily sure that that's what they're looking for. Maybe they would take him. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what their draft board looks like. Who do you like at 12 right now? Let's say Jordan Hawkins is picked 11th.
Why?
I'm trying to throw you off because you're just going to say Jordan Hawkins every week.
Yes, I was actually going with that. I mean, you are a Kobe Buffkin believer.
I'm a Buffkin believer. I'm a Buffkin boy.
I'm gonna tell you that I'm not going to draft Jed Howard nor Jaden Hood-Schifino.
Yeah.
If Hawkins is not there, and for the guys who are not on YouTube, Andrew is trying to. He's there, so nobody will pick him before, but he's just trying to set me off. It would probably be between Ryan Rupert that I need to rewatch, Buffkin, and maybe Keontae George.
Yeah, I would probably order those at this time. Buffkin 1, Rupert 2. And then Keontae George 3. I like
really
as well.
Rupert is above Keontae George for you today.
Yeah, just because of the physical tools that he has, and also just Keontae George, his struggles down the stretch, a little concerning at times.
Yeah,
also
I really don't see
either.
I really don't see Sensabaugh or Howard.
No.
Being guys that are above Buffkin when it's all said and done.
I think that would be insane. I think it would be completely insane. If you want to hear more about Kobe Buffkin, we recorded a podcast earlier today that it's not posted yet, but it will go up at some point this afternoon on the Dream Team Draft Show. So patreon.com/OKC Dream Team. You can also search for the OKC Dream Team show on Spotify and subscribe to it there on Spotify. So you don't have to just don't subscribe to both. Pick one or the other, and that's how you can listen to that. So if you want to hear an in-depth, I think we did like 25 minutes on Buffkin.
Mhm.
So you can go listen to that. We did a deep dive on his game, and spoiler alert, like him.
Yep.
So
Same.
okay.
Unfortunately.
Anything else before we go, Michele? Anything else from like Presti's press conference that like hit you in a certain way?
I think that we touch on them. Again, the fact that he can go into a monologue for 30 minutes and really, I don't know how much preparation goes into that. I think hours and hours. But anyway, it's
no doubt.
It's always a blast. And always a blast when someone asks him the book question to end it all after 2 hours and 15 minutes. 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Someone's got to end that thing. We were starting to recycle some answers from him, and I was like, "All right, it's time to end this. Time to end this thing."
Look at you, Andy, the chief of the Oklahoma media, the guy who decides when to end a discussion with the general manager. That's quite.
Who let this happen? Who let
you
this
are the man
insanity happen? I feel if I stop to think about it, I feel so insanely blessed to be able to do this podcast and to be able to be able to sit in on those press conferences and everything. I feel outrageously thankful for all of that. So thanks for listening, and thanks for, giving some legitimacy to what we're doing here at Down to Dunk. It means a lot. Could not be done without the Down to Dunkers. That's for sure. All right. Anything else, Michele, before we hop off here?
Let's go back to the beginning and help the community of Shawnee, because those are the important stuff in life. I mean, we love to discuss basketball, but when there are these moments and there is need for help, I mean, it's time for help. And Down to Down community always delivered.
Yep. Again, if you want to volunteer, spvolunteer.org. And then you can contact Michael Gilliam on Twitter at Michael C. Gilliam, Gilliam, or you can give him a call or a text, 405-827-2548 to help volunteer for that. So, yeah, please, if you have time to volunteer or would like to donate or would like to help out, Michael can definitely help you with all of those things. And I think that would be a very good thing. So hope you guys have an awesome day. Oh, James Anderson said, sorry for the dissent on this one. No, I appreciate it. I know that your dissent comes from a place of really loving the team and really loving the game. And I welcome it. I welcome your dissent because it challenges us a little bit. And I think that's good. Again,
yeah, we love challenges. It's similar to what the Thunder are trying to implement.
That's right. Yeah, iron
sharpens
iron here, James. We definitely appreciate it. If you're just coming here to just hate on us, that's another thing, and we know that's not your intent.
No, of course.
We're all good. We're all good. All right, everybody have an awesome rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday.